Hi, welcome back to our Excel custom functions, also known as UDFs series. We're going to create a new VBA function and we're going to write it from scratch. Actually, we're going to create two functions. One is going to convert temperatures from Celsius into Fahrenheit, and another is going to do the opposite. It will convert temperature from Fahrenheit degrees into Celsius. Before we write any code, of course, we need to know the formulas behind the calculations. And after a quick Google search, we can find such formulas. Again, the top formula will convert Celsius degrees into Fahrenheit, and the one in the bottom will convert Fahrenheit into Celsius. As a reminder, in order to use VBA code, we'll need to save our workbook as either macro-enabled file format or Excel binary workbook. So let's go ahead and save this file. I'm going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to save this file on my desktop. I'm going to call it temperature conversion. And under file type, I'm going to select Excel binary workbook and then hit save. In order for us to write our VBA code, we need to get to the VBA window. So let's press Alt key, and while holding it, let's simultaneously click on F11 key. That should bring us to the VBA window, and let's insert a new module and start working on our code. Let's start by writing our option explicit statement. If you remember from the previous videos, what this statement does is it helps us to explicitly declare all of our variables and functions in case we either forget to declare them or we misspell their names. Instead of proceeding with the code, Excel would stop and give us an ugly error message to address the problem. So let's create our first function to convert temperature from Celsius scale to Fahrenheit. Let's call this function appropriately, function temp C2F. The input is going to be degrees in Celsius, so let's just call it degrees in Celsius. The input is going to be an integer. But the output, just in case the calculation is going to be more complex, let's make it double. Let's document this function. This function performs the conversion from Celsius to Fahrenheit degrees. So let's comment that as well. If you remember from the beginning of this presentation, the actual formula that we'll be using is degrees in Fahrenheit equals to degrees in Celsius times 9/5 plus 32. So in actual VBA code, that's going to be the name of our function, temp C2F equals the input degrees in Celsius times 9/5 plus 32. Hopefully this should do the trick. And very similarly, the other function is going to be the one that converts temperature from Fahrenheit scale to Celsius. So temp F2C, degrees in Fahrenheit is going to be our input. And once again, this function will perform the conversion from Fahrenheit to Celsius scale. And the formula, if you remember again, is degrees in Celsius equals to degrees in Fahrenheit minus 32 and times 5/9. Or in VBA code, it's going to be temp F2C equals to degrees in Fahrenheit minus 32 and times 5/9. Let's see if this calculation will work. So let's test if our functions will actually work and perform accurate calculations. For the first iteration, we'll be converting Celsius to Fahrenheit. So the formula that we'll be using is equal sign our custom UDF, which is temp C2F. The input is going to be the degrees in Celsius, or in this case, cell A3. And it looks like the result is actually accurate. 0 degrees in Celsius should translate into 32 degrees in Fahrenheit. Let's copy this formula down, and perhaps we can use Google to validate our results, but it looks like the formula is working and giving us accurate read. Let's note here that if we change the formatting of this cell, we'll notice that instead of 82 degrees, even the actual conversion results in 82.4. So this is where that declaration of a double for our function came in handy. Similarly, for Fahrenheit to Celsius conversions, let's use our second function, which is called temp F2C, and the input is going to be cell E3. Let's copy the results, and for 32 degrees in Fahrenheit, we're getting 0 degrees in Celsius, which is also accurate. So it looks like our calculations are working. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss any of our future videos. Thank you. Stay in touch via our social media outlets.